Presented by FanDuel. The NFL Draft is right around the corner, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on all the action. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use. FanDuel always has exclusive offers. When you win, you'll get paid instantly. And FanDuel has lots of ways to bet the draft, with loads more coming between now and the first pick. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and make every moment more during the NFL Draft. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available. And listen to the end of this episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. If there was any question as to why we've been hyping up this running back class as one of the best in NFL draft history, well, today provided some answers inside the workout facility at the Combine here. Plus, telling performances, both good and bad, from the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. It's day 3 of the 2025 NFL Draft, and in just 54 days until the NFL Draft. Hey, bud.
What's up, man?
Muench, you good?
I'm good, man.
All right, let's get into this. I'm excited. I really am. 3 days, it's been building. Yesterday, we had a good day with the defensive backs. We saw some exciting numbers, but this running back class we've been hyping for so long. And it not always does it match up, like we saw with the interior defensive line. Today, it matched up. I mean, this was one of the... This was actually a record-setting performance for the running backs. This running back group averaged 4.48. Just watching these 40s.
Flying.
They were flying, and it was like one after another after another. So when I saw the average, it wasn't shocking. A 4.48 was the average. That's the fastest in the history of the Combine for the running back position. I'm going to start with one guy that is not in the top of the rankings, and we'll get to the top of the rankings and the guys that had phenomenal days. Ashton Ginty's number 1 on most people's boards. He's the only one of the top running backs that didn't work out, so it created a little opportunity for some others. But Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech.
Have a day.
Have a day, man. Bashal Tutin came out, and, I mean, I've got him as the 14th best running back in this class. Most years, that's not a good thing. This year, it's not a terrible thing. 5'9" and a quarter, 206 pounds. He's got the biggest freaking thighs and quads you've ever seen. He had a 40.5-inch vertical, which was best in class, right? Mm-hmm. 10-10 broad jump, second best in class. And a 4.32 40-yard dash for Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech. 4.32. It's fascinating, but maybe not surprising. I mean, this guy, if you really study his background and history, he grew up in a family of track athletes. His dad was a sprinter. His mother was a record-breaking sprinter in hurdles. And he had a 10.9 100-meter in high school himself. So, yes, like that track background certainly helps. But you see the straight-line explosiveness from him on tape, and that's what we saw today. We're not talking about lateral agility. We're not talking about catching the football, which is an area he's going to have to improve upon. Everything I saw on tape was outlets and screens and just, he's not part of the complex route tree at Virginia Tech and during his collegiate days. But you look at those numbers and talk about the buckets or the clusters that we're trying to break with all these guys. Mm-hmm. This is a huge day for Tutin.
Yeah, and you think about 206 pounds, and you might say, that doesn't seem that big, but it's a 5'9" frame, so he's a really compact build. I mean, when you watch the tape, he's got great contact balance. He's a tough runner. The other thing you want to keep in mind, 2023, 2 quick kickoff returns for touchdowns. You got a guy that's probably going to push for time in the return game right away.
So let's throw up the rankings real quickly, if we can, okay? And let's take a look at all these star running backs, right? All these guys that were in our top 100. And what it really gets me excited is that we had the vast majority of this group working out, which was not the case at all of the other positions, okay? And so when you look at Ashton Ginty out of Boise State, number one running back, projected by most to go in the top 15 and ranked by most somewhere in the top 6, 7 spots in this year's class, okay? He did not work out. After that, though, you got Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, who, in a lot of people's minds now, is starting to kind of creep up there. And I told you after I finished this tape, and you've been saying for a long time, he's clearly your number 2. I don't think there's a big gap between Ginty and Hampton.
Okay.
And that to me was eye-opening when I started watching his tape and seeing him at 221 pounds, how light he was on his feet, almost 6 feet tall, so 5'11 and 3/4. He today had a 10-10 in the broad jump, okay, which was tied for second best, 38-inch vertical at his size, which was 8th best. But remember, he's 221 against like a lot of other running backs like Travion Henderson, 202,
right.
R.J. Harvey, 205, Jordan Thomas, 205, Dylan Sampson, 200, okay? So to do these things that he's doing with the number 2 broad jump and the 8th vertical jump in a loaded class says something. Mm-hmm. And then you start to look at the 40-yard dash. What was his final result in the 40? Let me see if I can pull that up.
4.46.
4.46.
Yep.
Thoughts?
I mean, he showed out. I mean, he backed up everything that we saw on tape. There was no disappointments there. And again, keep in mind when we're talking about this, because there were some other players that were smaller that ran better, but keep in mind it's that size. This is 220 pounds moving at 4.46. Lower body explosiveness checks all the marks in terms of the jumps. Burst and speed checks all the marks when you see that 40 time. I just thought he had a great day, and reassured everyone of what they were seeing on tape.
All right, Tucker, let's pull up the running back class. Tucker, we're going today, baby.
We're in speed.
Yeah, we've been kind of just grinding through the last few days, but today we are rolling. I want to see the rankings coming up, right? And beyond Omarion Hampton, here are the other running backs. I firmly believe at least 2 running backs are going to go in the first round. And I want to go through this too, because when you start looking at this running back, at this mock draft, if you will, at the draft board, and the teams that could be in the market for running backs, and this doesn't exclude any other team. I don't think many people thought that Jahmyr Gibbs was going to go to Detroit. So like this, when I read off this list of teams, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean these are the only teams that they could go to. But here are some spots that I think there are possibilities for these running backs in the first round. And I'll come back to early second round as well. The Raiders, I think they're in the quarterback market. We'll get into a lot of discussions about the quarterbacks, how they threw today. We'll get into a lot of discussions about the quarterbacks and where they could go and some of the movement and free agency as it occurs in the next few weeks, okay? However, the Raiders at 6 is the first spot where there is a team that has a need at running back, and they're picking at 6, as I mentioned. 10, Chicago. Expect it fully to be an offensive lineman, but we'll get to the second round in a little bit. Dallas at 12 seems like the spot where everyone has it pegged, maybe most likely in that top 15 range for a running back to go, okay? After that, there's going to be this stretch in the early 20s, starting with 20, Denver. 21, Pittsburgh, Chargers at 22, and Vikings at 24. And the reason I say those teams, let's look at Denver, right? I always say undrafted because I'm so in the draft mode. Unrestricted free agent Javonte Williams and an Audric Estime, okay? And they've got Audric Estime. Then you've got, as I mentioned, Pittsburgh at 21. Najee, unrestricted free agent. Then the next pick after that, 22. J.K. Dobbins for the Chargers, unrestricted free agent. 24, Minnesota Vikings, UFA Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. So that range right there, if there's going to be a third back, because I truly believe in the top 20, Ashton Ginty and Omarion Hampton are off the board. At that point, is there a third back that goes? And let's say maybe one of them doesn't go in the top 20. I refuse to believe that if it's Ginty that goes early, that Hampton wouldn't go somewhere but 20 to 24, okay, with Denver, Pittsburgh, L.A. Chargers, and Minnesota. But if there's a third back, and again, Tuck, let's roll it. The rankings, right? Running back rankings. If you haven't, you probably have it up already. You do, right? Yeah, I see you smirking back there. He's on a heater tonight. Don't get it twisted. This running back group, Travion Henderson, we have the third running back. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, we'll get to him. Mm-hmm. All of these guys worked out. Judkins, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scadaboo. Cam Scadaboo jumped, did not run a 40, so he was a little bit limited. R.J. Harvey worked out. Jordan James worked out. Dylan Sampson worked out. All the way down the line. All these guys did. Travion, though, and we'll transition now. Travion Henderson is the most likely to be the third running back drafted in the first round. Let's look at what he did today. He had a 38.5 vertical jump, which was tied for fourth. He had a 10.8 broad jump, tied for sixth. And like tied for sixth this year, it would be like second or third most years.
I was wondering if you were going to say that because those are outstanding results for a running back. You hear tied for sixth, and I think people might say, "Oh, he was only sixth best here. That's not that great." No, that is an outstanding number for a running back. Just to be clear, an outstanding vertical jump for a running back is 38.5, exactly that mark. For a broad jump, it's 10'5". Those are outstanding numbers for running backs.
Yeah, and a 40, it's 4.48.
Right.
Those are and we do the measurables that matter each year. We've done like deep, long studies over the history, the last 2 decades, and we've updated it with numbers and tried to correlate to essentially trying to say, all right, we're looking, and it's in the background here, so if I point, it means I'm pointing up at the big screen that we have in this wonderful hotel. By the way, welcome into the show. I'm the worst host in the history of the world, but I hope it's part of the fun for everyone. Welcome into the show. We appreciate you watching on YouTube. Watching live right now while the Combine's still going on. If you're here, special love to you. And also watching live on Spotify. And this podcast will be out on anywhere that you get podcasts. If you're listening, we appreciate it as well. So when I look at this in the measurables that matter, right? We've spent all this time figuring out what correlates. And over time, looking at the running backs and guys who go on to have success, the 3 most important measurables are in this order: broad jump, 40, vertical jump. So that's why I'm going through these numbers specifically through the running backs, and Muench and I were tracking them all day long. And so for Travion Henderson, not the biggest back, he's not 221 like Omari and Hampton, but he showed up at just over 5'10", 202 pounds. Had the 4th best vertical jump, 6th best broad jump, both numbers in that outstanding range. Literally, right, that 38.5 is right at the outstanding range. The 10.8 is 3 inches over the outstanding range. And the 40-yard dash, 4.43, is better than the outstanding number, the kind of the benchmark of 4.48. So,
great day. Judkins was the one that jumped out to me even more, though.
All right, get into it.
Because he did that. He had the same vertical, a better broad at 11 feet, and he did it at 221 pounds. He ran a 4.48. He did it at 200. I called you a couple weeks ago, and I said, man, Judkins, I loved him at Ole Miss. I'm not sure I'm seeing it as much this year. I think he's a very good running back prospect. I'm not sure he's in that top tier of running backs. Well, now I feel like he's in that top tier of running backs. I got to go back, watch again, maybe watch the tape from 2 years ago again, because that workout it's phenomenal. I mean, again, at 221 pounds to broad jump 11 feet is insane.
It is, and I remember sitting with Lane Kiffin, and maybe 3 years, probably 3 years ago now. And just talking about how Judkins, and he had that breakout freshman year, so it was three, maybe 4 years ago when we met. And just talking about, he's got everything you want, like a pounder, this and that, but wasn't sure. I'm not sure what he'll eventually run,
Yeah.
And so this is a guy who's he was not like the 5-star. He was not the elite. They actually thought they might have more talented running backs at Ole Miss at the time. But he wasn't going to give up that job. He was rotating as a backup, but he clearly had emerged as all the younger running backs. But there were questions about, is he going to have that explosiveness that eventually will get him drafted early? And this workout clearly shows that he does. And he ran a 4.48. I don't know if you mentioned that, 4.48 in the 40.
4.48.
I say this all because you get into the second round, and I just mentioned the teams in the first round and where they were picking. I'm not going to pull up the picks now. We're so far away, and we can get to all this later. But based off of the draft order, and I'm assuming all of these teams have second-round picks. If they don't, excuse me right now, we're just not in that mode. But Cleveland will pick early. Mm-hmm. They need a running back. Okay? I didn't mention them there because they're not taking a running back at 2. Vegas was a stretch at 6. But Cleveland needs a running back, okay? Right. And when you look at the Browns situation, Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, they could use a young running back. And if it's not in the second, we'll get to all the depth here in the third round. New England Patriots, clearly not taking a running back in number 4.
Right.
And maybe it won't be early in the second round. But they'll have an early pick in the second round. They have a running back need. When you look at their situation, Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, I think they're looking to get younger, pay less, and get a little bit more explosive. Vegas, as I mentioned, at 6. Probably not going to take a running back there. But if you're staring at a Travion Henderson that falls, or a Judkins that falls, or a freaking Caleb Johnson, right, who I've got as the 4th running back, who didn't jump, slightly disappointing. Of all the top backs, I thought Caleb was a little bit disappointing. I thought he might crack based on his speed. It's smooth speed. It's not like that.
It's very smooth speed. That's the exact same.
It feels like deceptive speed, but maybe it's just not deceptive. Maybe maybe it is what it is. But he wound up running the official time today was a 4.57. So when you start to look at these guys, and he was 224, the biggest of the bigger backs, 3 pounds heavier than Omari and Hampton, but also an inch and change taller. He's 6'1", 224.
I still think he's a home run day 2 back. I mean, just the tape. Trust the tape on that one. You know what I mean?
I think he's the 4th back taken.
I hope he runs at his pro day. I hope he gets that number down a little bit. I just trust the tape with him too much. He is, if you're a zone-heavy scheme and you run outside zone a lot, which a lot of NFL teams do, this kid is a perfect fit for what you want to do. And, again, I know that number is kind of high, but when you watch the tape, he pulls away. He's quick, man.
Let's pull up the top 40s, and I want to go through each category here, okay? The 40-yard dashes, I mean, this group, I got to, I think, 8 deep. And you know what the tied for 7th, the 7th and 8th best were?
What?
4.43. That's like a good wide receiver class. Yeah. I'll be interested to see when the officials come out and they average it all up. Were the running backs faster by average than the wide receivers this year?
Right.
We told you the running backs were going to steal the show, and I'm not like the I told you so guy, but a
little bit.
I am right now. But we knew coming in that this was going to be an awesome showing. Even I didn't know it was going to be like this.
No.
I truly didn't.
No.
And so if you pull up the top 10 or the top running back, 40-yard dash, here's what I've got. Tootin from Virginia Tech, 4.32. Jadon Blue, running back from Texas. We knew he was going to run well.
And he did.
And listen, you're going to draft that guy to be the let's call it the Jahmyr Gibbs light.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
In that kind of role, but he's not going to be as significant a factor. But screens, outlet passes, comes in certain situations, get him in a draw, hit a crease when you spread out the defense. This guy has explosive traits, and he showed it by running a 4.38. Brashard Smith, that's my guy.
Your guy.
Former wide receiver from SMU. Goes from Miami to SMU, has a monster year this past year. They make the college football playoff run that they made. Smith was a huge part of it. And he ran a 4.39, the 3rd fastest time. R.J. Harvey, 4th fastest time, 4.40. I mean, it's remarkable when you Montrell Johnson Jr. from Florida runs a 4.41. You got Etienne, right? Trevor Etienne ran a 4.42, which is 6th best. And then the 2 guys, as I said, were tied for 7th. Travion Henderson and our guy, and I want to get to him now, DJ Giddens.
The human glitch.
The human glitch. My favorite nickname in this year's draft class from Muench so far. Giddens, I want you to understand, when you watch this guy on tape, he looks like a 5'9" scat back because he's so quick. His ability to, like that, like in and out of breaks and tiny spaces make guys miss. I think you and I
These guys look
watched.
silly.
We didn't coordinate it, but you and I watched his tape within like a 3-day span, and we're both like, oh, what like. And you got to remember, we're getting to him because we're trying to go down the line. And you get to him, and I think he was like 20, 22 on my list of guys to watch tape.
Right.
And now I've bumped him up to 12 on the board because I loved his tape. Shows up here, he's over 6 feet tall, 212 pounds. Listen to this. I just told you the 40. 4.43 he ran, right? Tied for 7th best in the fastest class in the history of the NFL Combine for running backs. Tied for 7th. He had a 39.5-inch vertical showing that lower body explosion that you're looking for. And remember the measurables that mattered we talked about. Broad jump, 40, vertical jump. His vertical was tied for second, and his broad as well was tied for second. 10-10 in the broad jump.
Another guy who had all outstanding numbers in the measurables that matter.
Yes.
Just crushed it. And by the way, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee didn't run today. He didn't run because I guess he's a little bit banged up. He did work out during. I thought he looked great on the field.
He did.
I thought he looked
caught the
awesome.
ball really, really well.
Awesome on the field. So it was kind of a bummer that he didn't run. I think he's going to go to his pro day, and you're going to see a sub 4.48 time easily. So if he had run here, that time could have gone even lower.
What else stood out to you? Because sorry. Let's flip it over. Let's run down it. We just did the 40s. Let's look at the broad jumps. Okay, because that's what we said, the number one measurable that matters. And it makes sense, right? With these running backs, you need to see that lower body explosion. Contact balance. Power as an inside runner. Can they fight through it? Plus, the lower body strength equals explosion in the run game and firing out. And when you look at the top guys in terms of the broad jump, Quinshon Judkins, your guy, right there again, number one, 11-foot broad jump. Remember, the outstanding number is a 10.5, and I'm going to get 7 deep of guys that were all 10.7 or better. LeQuint Allen from Syracuse, okay? LeQuint's got the best hands of any running back in this class. As a runner, he's a little bit upright. I think maybe some people have overrated him a little bit, and I want to put that in context because, A, we're talking about arguably the best running back class ever, and certainly since 2017 when we had Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, and 30 guys drafted, okay? So I'm just trying to keep that in perspective when I say maybe, because all of a sudden you started to see some people putting him up as like the number 3 or number 4 running back. I don't think he's at that level, but I think there's a case to be made somewhere in like that 9 to 13 range in this class.
It's good back.
Because he catches the ball so damn well. Pass protection, not so much, but he was utilized so much in the passing game as a receiver, he just hasn't worked at it yet. He's a good kind of straight line back. Doesn't have a lot of like, but he does he does like he makes a sharp cut. That's what I've noticed. He'll like get in the open field, he'll kind of go against the grain. Anyway, he shows that lower body explosiveness to go with that pass catching ability with his 10-10. Also at 10-10 in the broad jump, our guy Giddens again. Our guy Omarion Hampton again. Of course, Tootin's up there again. Then you get to 6th in the rankings with a 10-8, Travion Henderson. And then 7, R.J. Harvey.
I'm just going to be honest. I was watching these body types and the way they were working out, and my thought was, where do they shop for pants? Like their quads are so big.
Yeah.
That I was like, where do these guys get their clothes? Because I don't even know. They can't go and get regular in pants and try to pull them over. Like these quads are so massive, and you see it again. What does that mean? Like, are you just being silly, Muench? No. Like when you see a guy built like that, who carries his weight like that, it translates to how their ability to break tackles, their ability to push the pile when they don't have a seam. It all adds up when you're looking at the overall evaluation.
I think the AXX behind you is. I'm just looking at the comments right now. TJ Maxx. Maybe they could go get some shorts there.
Quadzilla's everywhere, though.
There are. I'm trying to pull up our live chat to make sure we're following along. We are following along. Paulino 89, love it. Brett Jones, the fantasy plumber. Not sure what that name's all about, but we appreciate everyone watching and hanging around. And there's some questions later. We'll try to get to them. In that list, let me see what the vertical jumps. Yeah, let's rip through vertical jumps again. And I know I'm boring people with some numbers, but like I hope you're going to see the trends that we're trying to get to here. Okay, the vertical jumps, a lot of the same names, except Tucker's boy Scadaboo is in there at number 2 with a 39.5-inch vertical, behind Tootin that we talked about with 40.5 in his vertical. After that, again, Giddens, 39.5. Judkins, 38.5. Edwards, that's right, I forgot. Donovan Edwards from Michigan, the forgotten guy.
He had a nice day.
The face of NCAA 2024.
I know,
yeah.
right? Some of the faces of that game didn't really work out.
Yes, but good performance today. Also, Travion Henderson with a 38.5 as well, and then just beyond that, Omarion Hampton with 38 and R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey's name keeps coming up here.
Yeah.
Right? R.J. Harvey ran the 4th fastest 40-yard dash. R.J. Harvey had the 7th best broad jump at 10.7. R.J. Harvey had a 38-inch vertical.
Not just here. You've been talking about his tape for, I feel like, a few weeks now.
When I go back to his tape study, there were so many things that stood out. I love his vision. I love the fact that he is able to make guys miss in a small area. When I looked at him, I went from, he's a nice mid-round back to, I think absolutely 3rd round, but like early 3rd round.
Wow.
I really do. His run style and I love his feet. He's absolutely electric. Like he's one of those pick and slide runners who he's moving laterally until he doesn't need to move laterally. He's kind of and then goes.
Yep.
You know? And his ability to like stop start, but also to just accelerate initially after like the patience that you need and the vision you have when you see the crease or you feel the crease cutting back. The ability to get to top speed in a flash is so important in the NFL because that crease ain't staying open.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you better hit it.
And Harvey, I think versatility is his strength. Like pass pro, I thought he was overwhelmed a little bit at times, but he, as you said, he is stronger and a little bit more powerful with contact balance than you would think at like 5. And remember, 205 at 5'8" is like 215 at 6'1".
Right.
You know, like he's tightly packed. So
I'm not saying this is a great comp, but I always think of Maurice Jones-Drew because he wasn't, his size wasn't massive in terms of his weight, but he was built so low to the ground. He's so powerful.
I went with Aaron Jones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just making sure because I saw there's a couple guys that have a little bit of that quality from Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the guy he reminds me of. A little bit undersized, can bounce off of some tackles, but it's his electric feet that make him special and have given him the career that he has had. The other thing about R.J. Harvey, if you're in the fan base of a team and they wind up drafting him, he is a, what do they call it, force multiplier, the guy who comes into the locker room and he pushes everyone involved. He gets the best out of his teammates, constantly driving himself. He's a leader. I think there's outside of like he can get a little better in pass protection. I don't see much in terms of the weaknesses.
Right, you want him to be an inch or two taller? Great.
I don't care.
Get over it.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I mean,
get over it.
The best running back to come out in a long time is Ashton Ginty, right? Well,
right.
Not a long time, but he's up there in like the top 5 in the last maybe decade in terms of talented backs that come out in the draft. He's up there in the top 4 or 5, and he's 5. He checked in at 5.084,
right,
5'8.5".
So
it's almost
you can't be okay with one and not the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a strength at that position.
Yeah.
What else jumped out, man?
I want to give you a guy that flew under the radar because of all these numbers, and maybe he's not the top of any list.
Yep.
Rocket Sanders from South Carolina, man.
Yeah.
217 pounds. He ran a 4.46, hit a 36.5-inch vertical. Very productive player. Runs really hard on tape. Productive at Arkansas, productive at South Carolina. Someone who's maybe flying under the radar, but when you look at that height, weight, speed, he's a guy that you got to go back and look at. And maybe we're a little bit low, or maybe I'm a little bit low on him, I should say.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, if you're looking for a guy, Jordan James had a meh day.
I know, but
No, I know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm good with the tape.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, what's fascinating to me is I don't think you change buckets. I'm not a bucket changer believer. You know,
yeah.
if that's a thing. But I do think within the bucket you mix around. The issue is when you compare, when you put Jordan James, like I consider him a bucket ahead of some of these other guys. Like when you get to LeQuint Allen from Syracuse, when you get to Jaden Blue from Texas, when you get to DJ Giddens, I would put Giddens up.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through different notes here. But to me, it would be like, all right, let's get past it. We got Cam Scadaboo, we got RJ Harvey, we got Dylan Sampson.
Yep.
I think that like is a cutoff to me.
Okay.
In terms of my tape evaluation, right? So for me, it would be Ginty, Hampton, Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins, Scadaboo, R.J. Harvey, Jordan James, Dylan Sampson. 9 backs.
They're all so good, yeah.
Right? Based off tape, where I'm like, I don't really want to have a discussion that one of these other guys is in these 3 buckets, if you will. You can create buckets within those first 9 guys, but those are my 9 off of tape.
Yeah.
Okay? What's interesting is James would be 8 on that list for me.
Okay.
Kind of right neck and neck with Dylan Sampson. James shows up 5'9.5", 205. Perfectly fine. But a 9'9" broad isn't like the worst thing in the world, but when we're talking about R.J. Harvey's of the world doing a 10'7",
right,
and Tootin with a 10'10", and LeQuint Adams and Giddens with a 10'10", Judkins, you know, there's a difference, a lower body explosion. So, at what point? And then you look at the 4.55 and the 40-yard dash. It's only 2:05. And now you're looking at what I say, 8 guys ran a 4.43 or better. You know?
Yeah, it all adds up. I get it, and that's why he may go a little bit later than those guys in the same bucket. I totally agree. Watch the tape, and I know you're going to agree with me on this one too. Yeah. Find a guy who hits the hole harder. Find a guy who runs harder than Jordan James. You're going to have a hard time.
Yeah, I guess what I'm presenting to you is we've got DJ Giddens at 6 foot 212, second best vertical, second best broad, top 740, ran a 4.43. We got Bashul Tootin, like almost a combine record-breaking type day.
He's
at 206, 509, 206, ran a 4.32. By the way, that 4.32, folks, is faster than Jahmyr Gibbs, faster than Saquon Barkley. Like, whew.
Yeah, Saquon's a lot bigger, but yeah.
Yeah. Jahmyr isn't.
No.
And Jahmyr's like electric.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
He's electric. So I don't know. It's just these are eye-opening numbers. So again, not in that tier based off of tape, a tier below, but Giddens with that performance, Tootin with that performance, Brashard Smith. I got to him before, former receiver. He ran I had 4.39 as unofficial. Yeah, 4.39 official.
Yeah, it was
4.39 official. Now, his jumps weren't any good, though.
Right.
32 and a half. Might have been it was among the 3 or 4 lowest. And not shocking. I don't see that lower body explosive. I see speed and finesse and smooth. But his speed, like a huge 4.39 versus a 4.55, you know? But their tape is totally different.
Yeah.
The tape. Giddens, we can have a conversation out of Kansas State, okay? Giddens, we can have that conversation. I'm not saying you're going to win the argument, but we can have a conversation. Interestingly enough, the best measurable guy, Tootin, I just finished his tape. I like him a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't think he brings the complete game, like the pass catching, the ability to make guys miss like James does. He doesn't heat it up the same way, even though his numbers say differently.
Right.
I don't know. Devin Neal, good day.
Yeah.
Good day. 213, not great, but good. 213 pounds, 5'11", 10.4 broad jump. 37.5-inch vertical jump. Both good, not elite. Below average 40, though. What was it? I wrote, I only had unofficial when I wrote
4.58.
Yeah, really below average.
I said this about your boy Upton Stout.
So two of my favorite runners in this class, Jordan James, and I have like 9 favorite runners in this class. But two of my favorite runners in this class, I'm sorry to cut you off, and you can go ahead. But Jordan James and Devin Neal did not run the times. They ran Emmett Smith times, let's call them.
Oh, yeah. Let's call him that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I'd love to call him that.
So if you're going to argue for it, be like, yeah, look at Emmett didn't run fast.
There's lots of backs.
There's lots, I
right?
know. But that's
and
like
receivers too, by the way, that don't run those those low numbers. But I said this about Western Kentucky nickel Upton Stout, who you love. Didn't have a great workout in terms of the numbers. There's a lot of teams who'd be happy with that Devin Neal. Go ahead, you pass on Devin Neal.
Yeah.
You know what? They're going to be calling each other.
Let him
There's
get
going to be
to
a lot
us.
of those phone calls between these decision makers saying, "Oh, you saw Neal run, right? He didn't look that good. I don't know, man. I don't know." And then that guy who's like downplaying him the entire process will be the guy that takes him.
Yeah, let him fall to us in the fourth round, right?
Let him come to us.
All right. Quarterbacks or wide receivers? Where do you want to go first?
Let's go wide receivers first.
Okay. This wide receiver class, not the greatest. We've said it from the beginning, but a lot of intriguing numbers today. I thought it was interesting. Let me ask you this first. Have you read anything about Tet McMillan from Arizona or Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State or was it injury related? Or was it choice?
I did not see.
I did not either. I sometimes wonder if people think that if players think based off of agents or their team around them, that they're rated higher, locked in, whatever it is.
Right.
And that question comes to mind, assuming that there wasn't something significant with Tet McMillan that we have not read. With Tet McMillan from Arizona. I said it earlier in the week. I finished up his tape. I think he's a really good player. I see the length. I see the ability to get down the field. I see the acrobatic catches. I also see a guy who lacks urgency and consistency at times. I think he needs a lot of work as a route runner. I thought Drake London is a fair comp in that there's similar traits and heights and weights and kind of that athletic flexibility.
Style,
Yeah, but I thought there was a lot more dog in Drake coming up.
Yeah.
I did. I don't see, for me, the top cluster is 3D.
Okay.
Tet McMillan, Matthew Golden, Emeka Ibuka. Emeka, let me start with this. I'm not sure the exact reason. I'm sure he had a perfectly good reason. And by the way, reason enough for me is Ohio State played like 3 days ago, it feels like, in the national championship game.
Yeah, but those backs came out and put on a show.
They did. But I'm saying maybe it's different at the wide receiver position, trying to run that track time, give himself 3 more weeks to prepare. I can live with that. When did Arizona
Devil's advocate. Yeah,
when did Arizona season end?
October.
Good line. So, and if you see my eyes going up there, I'm watching Tyler Shuck finish up his quarterback throwing. So I'm not ignoring this show and pretending that I'm not here. I want to make sure I get just as many throws in as possible. Truth be told, I told you, full transparency at all times. We said 7 o'clock. Probably should have pushed it back to 8 o'clock, but it works out perfectly fine. We got all the numbers in that we need. We saw the first group of quarterbacks work out. We've seen a good portion of the quarterbacks working out now. I'm watching Jalen Milroe throw. I go back probably on the plane tomorrow. We'll have the tape, okay? And we'll go and watch this a little bit more. We're going to have a huge review show Monday afternoon. We're taping it at 2 o'clock Eastern. Should have it out later. We will have it out later that day, okay? And Tucker's shaking his head up and down. That means we will have it out later that day. My man comes through. And we're going to break down all this stuff, and we can get into more detail, and I got a lot.
Get a lot to say.
I sent you some notes. I got a lot of stuff in the last 24
It's
hours
good.
from GMs and what's called
good.
decision makers. A lot of stuff that we're going to get to on Monday, okay? And the McShay report is coming out on Monday morning. You're going
to want to double down.
Yeah, you're going to want to double down for $36, or at least ante up the $4 to get involved through this draft. I was shocked at the information I got.
I wasn't shocked.
And I'm not holding out tonight because the quarterback, receiver, running back workouts. I'm not holding out tonight to try to get people to subscribe and all that. Like, it's just not my nature. I'm holding out because I need to confirm a couple things before I'm ready to say the things that I want to say. But we got a lot of things to get into. Reviewing all these numbers, putting it all in perspective, really giving you the winners, the disappointments, guys who are rising, but also some information from a week here in Indianapolis where, like, if you're a bellhop or a valet, you're going to have some NFL draft buzz, right, by the end of the week. So we got a little bit of information that we want to go through. But Tet McMillan, Matthew Golden, and Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka gets a pass. McMillan, I'm curious to what the reasoning was, but Matthew Golden said, "Yeah, I'm working out.
Yeah,
let's go put on a show.
I'll give it a shot."
And he ran a 4.29, folks. A 4.29. And so when I say to you, it's just my board, and I don't know what your board, and speak freely on what you think here. But from my tape evaluation, and here's the beauty: they're all completely different players. McMillan is a Drake London. He's an outside X, tall guy, box you out, make acrobatic catches, those sorts of things. Egbuka is like the most consistent, reliable. He is a security blanket for a receiver, for a quarterback. He can work in the slot. He can work outside. He'll pick you apart in zone as well as he'll pick you apart in man. The dude is just consistent, but he's not going to be a huge vertical threat for you, and that's why he probably wanted 3 more weeks to train to run a number that he was satisfied with, and I don't blame him. Okay, but Matthew Golden is a lightning rod. His ability to get in and out of breaks, his like his snap, his sharpness, how crisp he is his secret sauce. And then his ball skills too. You think about some of the big catches.
Body control.
And so when Golden comes out today and runs a 4.29 and has the workout that he had, I was thrilled for him, man. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who transferred in from Houston, was kind of sitting behind Isaiah Bond, who was supposed to emerge as the star this year and never did. And we'll get to Bond versus Golden today because I thought that was hysterical. 5'11", 191 pounds. He only ran the first 40. I'm not sure if he tweaked something. He didn't have the jumps. But that 4.29 is all we need to see. It was almost like a Dion thing.
Yeah, see you later.
That's my one run. Adios.
Right. Everyone else wanted to see him run again because it was electric, but, I did what I came here to do.
So that 4.29 now is I'm starting to put together the tape, and it's confirmed. Because remember, this is a guy like we didn't know enough about and how he was going to handle playing at a big-time school in big games. And the games got bigger each week, and his performances kept staying there steady. He was the guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. It makes me go back and think.
So 5'11", 190.
Yeah.
If he's 1 inch taller and 10 pounds heavier, I don't think we're even having the conversation, which is kind of to your point. I think if he was 1 inch taller, this kid's 6 foot, 200 pounds. I think he's the number 1 wide receiver on the board. I think it's close. I had the same grade for him and McMillan coming in. Both I had 90s on. Then people might think that's high for Golden. It's what you said. I see the best route runner in this class when I watch the tape. And then you see the guy who's got the speed to take the top off the coverage. And some of these catches that he made down the stretch where he's, having to bend backwards and twist around and snatch the ball out of the air. And he does it naturally. It wasn't like, wow, look at me, I just made this crazy catch for once in my career. Like, he could do that repetitively.
I think when it's all said and done, I'm just gonna have him my number 1 receiver. Like, why am I fussing around? If I don't love one guy and I love another guy just because the measurables are different, like I don't know. There's time, but I'm just telling you, I'm leaning towards because I trust him more. I just trust him more.
Yeah.
And you know who I trust a hell of a lot? Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
And I know. In a lot of great drafts, you're thrilled about getting them early second. Maybe you're paying late first this year, because there's not the catalog there this year that you'd like to normally have.
Yeah,
But
I think that's a great way of evaluating his market. I don't think he's normally a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He could go there. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I'm not excited.
But I
about
also
that
want to
pick.
remind you, like, half the great wide receivers in the NFL were second-round draft picks.
True.
Do you know, like,
True, yeah. And I think he's got a chance to be a really productive receiver in the NFL.
I mean, I'm obviously blowing it out of proportion, but I'm telling you, if you go down the list of, like, the top 20 receivers in the league, there's a disproportionate amount that come from the second round,
Right.
okay? And so even if it was a second-round pick, like, what's the difference? Like, if I pick him at 40, do I feel better? I sleep better? I want to know who am I going to trust that's going to come into camp and he's going to be ready and he's going to be someone who's reliable for my quarterback. He's going to make us better.
Yeah.
And
He's
Ted
ready.
McMillan better have these phenomenal traits to go along with the flash tape. It's not flash tape. A lot of good plays and good things he does on tape, but it's got to kind of counterbalance some of the stuff that still has to be developed in his game. So,
Do you see the note on the Texas wide receivers, by the way?
yes.
4 wide receivers over the last 2 years with sub 4.4 40-yard dashes.
Well, let's get into this.
That's crazy.
Let's get into this, though. Isaiah Bond, he's a big name in college football, played for one of the biggest programs in college football, played with an offensive coordinator who's a head coach in Steve Sarkisian, played with a quarterback who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country, didn't have the best year of his career, but widely regarded as one of the best college football quarterbacks in the country. He had everything.
Yeah.
He had everything. He's also allegedly blessed with like track speed, you know? Like Usain Bolt speed.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but like he's supposed to be. And so here's the message that I was getting from the league. Don't give up on Isaiah Bond because he's going to put up a number that is so ridiculous, and he has a type of speed where we're going to game plan around him. We're going to game plan with him with installs every week, and we're going to get that ball in his hand no matter what, and he's going to be able to go do things that a lot of other guys simply can't because they don't have that speed.
Right.
Is this the most disappointing 4.39 40-yard dash in the history of the Combine?
Yeah, he just hyped himself up. I'm going to break the record. Why say that? Why get on that podium and say, and by the way, I don't understand all this stuff. Again, apologies. I'm still trying to learn everything. Apparently his miles per hour was the highest at some point, that he reached the highest miles per hour during the 40.
Yep.
So I guess that's good. I guess he broke that record, or I don't know. I don't know what that record is. But when you come out and say, I'm going to run a 4.2, and then you run a high 4.3, and you've had the season that you've had, I don't get it, man. What a disappointment from how disappointing this has been since he left Alabama, because I really thought he flashed at Alabama. I thought when he went to Texas, this was a kid who's going to have a great 2024 and just skyrocket, and it just hasn't gone that way.
So you got that graphic up. Oh boy, Tuck. Let me see there. 40-yard dash. Yep. So that's the miles per hour. That's what you reach at top.
Right. But he can sustain it, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed because they did a pretty cool, it was Golden, Bond, and I think was it Xavier Worthy from last year?
And A.D. Mitchell, too, ran a sub 4.4. I think they didn't do, I don't think they put Mitchell in there, though, the simulcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought he weirdly got like a slower start compared to the other guys and was trailing behind.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway. Where else you want to go with these guys? Because there's...
You want to, I mean, listen, I can't believe you're holding back. Your guy, Jalen Noel, have a day. Another guy, you want him to show up here, you want him to do well, and I don't want to say he didn't disappoint. Like, he exceeded expectations in almost every way.
But I want to remind you, when I watched his tape, I said to you, I don't care. I don't care about his size. I really don't. I see a player that I absolutely know what I'm getting. And yes, he's not ideal in terms of his measurables, like his height and weight. He checked in at 5'10" and a quarter, which is like, but that's the other thing. Like 5'10" and a quarter, we're not talking about 5'8" or 5'9". Mm-hmm. He's over 5'10". He's 194. The dude is packed.
It's not tiny, no.
He's tightly packed. Now, the biggest concern of all of it would be the arm-hand measurement combo, because he's got 8 3/4, which is smaller hands, but more importantly, the 29.5-inch arm length. So like the catch, and I wrote that in my report. The catch radius is probably the biggest knock I can give on.
Right. But he catches the ball like a guy with bigger hands.
Extremely well.
He's confident. He snatches.
Strong hands in traffic. Contested catches for a small receiver, outstanding. Small hands, but it doesn't show up to me on tape. 9 drops for Jalen Noel. I'm telling you, like, why is they talking about an Iowa State wide receiver? We got all the because what his performance today was phenomenal. His production was absolutely phenomenal. When you look at the final 3 seasons, 202 catches, 25.86. Okay, 18 touchdown catches his last 3 seasons. Elite separation skills.
Awesome tape.
I'm talking about like a 5-year NFL vet in the slot with exceptional quickness and speed. And the ability, like I put it on, go to my McShay 13 on X, and you'll see I kind of got crazy one night, and I had music going in the background, and we're ripping through some videos, and I'm getting yelled at by Dan, our other producer, who's telling me that, how do you not take screen grabs of it? And Marissa's saying, I've been yelling at him for months now. You got to screen grab it or whatever, catch it or whatever. So I'll get better at it, folks. But you'll get the point. His ability to understand leverage, his stem, set defenders up, work in and out of zones, it's phenomenal. No fear over the middle, tough as nails. Like, I don't see what the downside is outside. He's not a massive guy with a great catch radius. But how many guys around we've had so many highly productive receivers like this, and a lot of them didn't put up these numbers. Jalen Noel, 5'10 1/4, 194, as I told you, 41.5-inch vertical, tied for the best in class. 11.2 broad jump, best in class. 4.34 40-yard dash, third in class.
Not bad.
Bud.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. His running mate, his buddy there.
Yeah, he had a good day
Ames,
too. 214 pounds, ran a 4.47. Jaden Higgins.
I'm telling you, in 2 years from now, if you were to say, the Iowa State receiving tandem, which, by the way, they perfectly complement one another, right?
Yep. One's an outside guy, is going to make.
One's an X, one's a
hash.
Z.
Yeah, exactly.
You get your X, you get your Z. Both have speed, both have great route running, both can get off the press.
Right.
Higgins has one of the best, press array
release
beaters.
packages, yeah.
Yeah. If you were to tell me in 3 years that those two guys were a starting receiving tandem in the NFL,
That
I'd
would
be
be
like,
awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, if they ended up in the same place, that'd be great.
Which they won't, but
No.
Unlike we didn't think Braden Fisk and Jared Verse would, but you never know. Those two guys were just amazing today. Yeah. Higgins, like you said, the height, weight, speed, length combination with the vertical and the broad jump and the 4.47 40. At 6'4", 214, he's got 33 and an 1/8 inch arm length. That's elite.
And you see it on tape. Again, it translates to tape.
Yes.
He's a guy who can go up and get it.
And the 39-inch vertical, the 10.8 broad jump. So those two guys, when we talk about tiers, I think it's Tet McMillan, Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, not in that order. Okay? I think I'm going to go Golden, maybe Egbuka, then McMillan, or Golden, McMillan, Egbuka. We'll see. Probably Golden, McMillan.
Yeah.
I'll go Golden, McMillan.
Thank you.
Egbuka.
No Luther Burden.
No.
Not in that group, huh?
No. He's great. He's great with the ball in his hands. Anyone who's watched tape for 5 minutes knows that. Sensational with the ball in his hands. Ran well today.
Low 4.4s.
Ran a 4.41. Really good time. No jumps. There's a little buyer beware there, talking to people in the league. Why did he check out of that Alabama game? He wasn't getting the ball. Heard that before. That's going to be some stuff he's going to have to answer. And there's some stuff that he's going to have to answer. So, and the I didn't think this past year, quarterback play wasn't as good as quarterbacks here at the Combine, though. He's not that terrible.
Right.
Right? Luther Burden's going to be interesting because my point was we came into this year and it was Tet McMillan and Luther Burden, right? Mm-hmm. That's all it was. Matthew Golden was like number 3 on the Texas depth chart.
Yeah.
And now he could be WR1. Emeka Ibuka, yeah, he's a good number, but like he kept stacking good tape. And so now we've got McMillan maybe dropping, maybe not even at a number 2 receiver, but dropping from like a top 5, in my opinion, to I think we're getting later first.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a top 10 pick to me.
No, but he's been mocked by everyone as a top 10 pick.
Right.
And it drove me crazy. And I got annoyed because our mock draft came out late. Because I wanted to make sure, like, this is, so that was one of the reasons. Burden wasn't in the mock draft. And it won't be in mock 2.
No.
Okay?
I agree with you.
But Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are starting to climb up.
Moving up, man.
And it was based off tape. Remember, Tuck, do we have my wide receiver rankings coming in? I love Nick in the corner over here doing his stretches. Yeah. You got to stay.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, my hips are tight. I'm telling you what. But the wide receiver rankings, McMillan I still had at 1. We'll see how that plays out. Golden and Ibuka. Burden at 4. He's not going to be there when I release the new ones. In part because of conversations. The 4.41's great. Didn't see any jumps from him. 8.5-inch hands I thought was interesting. And also in part because these other 2 guys are really, really climbing. Trey Harris I've got at 7.
Want to talk about him?
Because, and I'm going to give you the floor. I had him at 7, but the gap was extremely tight. I don't know that it completely changes, but talk to me about his numbers, what you saw, and where that brings you with him.
I think he's a top 5 guy. Listen, you're going to look at that 40 and you're going to say...
Tell me about him as a receiver first. Sorry.
I just love how tough and physical he is after the catch. And I mean, that's not the most important thing in a receiver, but that's the funnest thing. The most exciting thing for me when I'm watching him on tape.
It's hugely important for an X-wide receiver in a West Coast system.
When you get him the ball quickly, he's not a fun guy to tackle. He's just not a fun guy to tackle. I think he runs very well on tape. I don't see any speed deficiency on tape. I think he can separate underneath. So this is that... I think he's a pretty good route runner against man, and these are the numbers I want to keep in mind when I'm talking about this. He ran a 4.54, so you're like, 4.54. He wasn't quite as big as I thought he was going to be. He was 6'2 and a half, 205 pounds. I thought he was going to be more 210, more 215. So not quite as big as I thought he was going to be. But keep this in mind: 10-yard split, 1.56. What's an outstanding time for a receiver? 1.55. 10-foot, 5-inch broad jump. We're talking about that lower body explosiveness again. This is a guy that can get off the ball. I think he can get in and out of breaks. He's tough. He's physical. He was hurt for a good portion of this yeyear. If he wasn't, and he still had 1,000 yards receiving, by the way. If he wasn't, I think the buzz is even greater with him.
You know, he has, well, I don't want to say a lot of similarities too, but some in terms of the run after catch and physicality is Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
And we just got breaking news shortly, just a little while ago. I wanted to confirm it. We'd heard it, but I just saw it again. Deebo Samuel traded to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick. That surprised you.
5th?
That surprised
5th.
you. And
am I crazy? 5th seems high.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was low.
No.
I was saying I think it's pretty reasonable.
A 5th-round pick for Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, okay, good. We were running down here to come on the show. We had heard it. We wanted to make sure.
I think the Commanders are getting a steal here.
Oh.
For a 5th-round pick for Deebo Samuel.
So you're saying...
Are you going to get a receiver like Deebo Samuel in the 5th round?
No, but it's about money and finance. You know
how
it works.
Give me a
Okay,
break.
so I was right initially. Okay.
You think it's reasonable?
Yes, we see this all the time, man.
I know we do. It drives me nuts, though. I don't think that's good value.
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to, like, pat Deebo in the back and be, you're worth a 2nd-round pick right now. This isn't what we're gauging. It's like trying to get out of some cap stuff, trying to figure out how to move forward the roster, trying to bring in, it's interesting, though.
Yeah, a week ago, the Commanders thought they were getting Matthew Golden at 29. Then they saw that 40, and they're like, that's not happening anymore. Might as well trade for Deebo.
Yeah, I'm sure John Lynch was Or,
No way Golden's going to be there now. Might as well trade for Debo.
yeah, I'm sure Adam was looking at that.
Yeah.
It is interesting though. Now San Francisco, they drafted a receiver, Ricky Pearsall from Florida last year in the first round.
But they might trade Brandon Ayuk too, so they might be in the market for a guy. A lot of dust to settle here, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have a lot going through my brain.
But anyways, back to Trey Harris. I think he's a top 5 guy.
Top 5 receiver in this class?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd take him over Burton. Although I will say this.
Give me your top 5 right now.
Right now, my top 5 would be.
I'll give you a list that you can work off of.
Golden / McMillan. I got one right here.
All right.
Golden / McMillan. Man, I got Burden there, but I think he's dropping. So right now I have McMillan, Golden, Burden, Harris, Igbuka. But Higgins and Noel are the next 2, and I think both of those guys are climbing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I have Harris as my 4.
Some disappointing stuff. We'll continue with that. Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
Love this guy. No one can cover him in the Senior Bowl. Loved him in some big moments this year. Showed up in big games. Got the injury against Penn State. Still came back and fought. But he's 154 pounds.
And he ran 4.51?
4.51.
Yeah.
At one point, he ran a 4.55 unofficial, and I read a note that no wide receiver since 2003 under 170 pounds has ever run slower than a 4.55. That was his first 40 unofficial, but his official time was 4.51. I don't have historical context, but I think we can all assume that or put the pieces together that it's a damning combination.
Not ideal.
No. Lightning quick.
Tough.
Unbelievable with the ball in his hand after the catch, but can he hold up physically? And if you're going to be that undersized, you better have like back-breaking speed.
Yeah.
You know? And so today was a rough day for Tez Johnson. Some other guys that were, and it's because whatever. I'm not going to go down a whole road. But maybe you get a great value for him. He's working with a nutritionist right now. He's got 5'10" frame essentially. Maybe he can get up to 165, 170 at some point and be, So it's not like the dream is over, like by any stretch of imagination. It's just the hurdle's a little higher for him to clear, if you will, in terms of where he's going to be drafted and kind of what the view is of what he can be in the NFL. So other guys that really stood out. I've got a little list here. Chim DK.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second? I want to talk about.
Because we were trying to look up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is what's fascinating to me is those 2 Florida receivers. Elijah Badger also had a good day. Not as good as Chim DK, but you look at that Florida offense, right? Instability at quarterback. DJ Lagway, talented but young. Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
Graham Mertz got hurt early.
They had a Yale number 3 starting for them.
Yeah, at one point. So it was a messy season for Florida. Keep in mind that Chim DK averaged 18.6 yards per catch, and Badger averaged 20.7 yards per catch. And I'm thinking this because of the workouts they had today and how important it's going to be to go back and how difficult it is with that passing game being in the state that it was. But how important it is to go back because Chim DK, if you want to give the numbers, I can give the numbers, whatever you want to do, had an outrageous workout today. I mean, he was 6 foot, 196 pounds, 151 10-yard, 4.34 40, 38.5-inch vertical, 10 foot 8-inch broad.
Yep.
I mean, those are outstanding numbers. Badger, by the way, 6'1", 200 pounds, 4.43, 35.5-inch vertical. Pretty damn good day for the Florida kids.
Yeah.
When you add in Montrell Johnson, the running back,
yeah,
they had some talent there, man.
Yeah, maybe it just wasn't being utilized.
Right.
You're making a good point.
Yeah.
Now that you put it all together for me.
Right. So when you're looking at that,
I like that.
This is what's so important for those guys, for guys like that. Because you look at Isaiah Bond, and it's a clean picture, right? It's a clean picture that he had everything that he needed to be productive, to have a great year, and it didn't work out. Now you look at a guy like Chim DK, and you say to yourself, well, it was kind of messy there. Look at these workout numbers, and when he did get the ball, 18.6 yards per catch, he was making plays.
Yeah. It is actually interesting.
I surprise you every once in a while, right?
You do. You do, man. Thank you for doing that. A few other guys jumped out. Jalen Lane, Virginia Tech, Jalen Lane. We know a couple guys in the league that really think they kind of want us to just shut up and not bring him up.
There's a lot,
but he ruined that for those guys today with the performance that he put out there. Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, who's a great return specialist, really good like core special teams guy. So someone you're talking about probably in that third, fourth round range. You know right away he can contribute. Mm-hmm. Probably going to be like a number 4 receiver early in his career, but these are numbers that make you think, maybe this guy can be a really good number 3. And there are guys in the league that believe in him, okay, guys that we trust. Jalen Lane had a 40-inch vertical today, an 11-foot broad jump. I mean, I did
He and
not.
Noel were the only two to do that, I think, to have that combo.
Yes, and neither of them are these like big. I mean, he's 5'10" and a quarter. No, hold on, Lane, 5'9", 5096. So 5'9" and 3/4.
Slot guys.
191. Ran a 4.34 with a 40-inch vertical and 11 broad jump. I mean, those are like astonishing numbers.
Good luck catching that.
So Jalen Lane is a player who you're going to start to hear his name a little bit more when you get into that late day 2 range, okay? Mm-hmm. Ty Felton. Interesting cat, man.
Yeah.
Saw him at the Senior Bowl. He almost looks and plays a little bigger than the 6'1" frame.
Yeah, that's one of the things I had in my notes. I love how competitive, how hard he runs after the catch. He breaks some tackles. He's a more physical dude than you might think based on the frame.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. And only 183. I would have guessed he was 6'2" and a little change, 195.
Yeah.
Maybe 200. I wouldn't have argued.
Saw the same thing.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
I'm normally pretty good with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good with like balancing a checkbook or like, I can't handle most of the things around the house. I very clearly have trouble screen grabbing and taking direct shots for my videos. But like I normally am like kind of a weird, like with that stuff. So that one threw me. But he ran a 4.37. 39.5-inch vertical and a 10.10 broad jump. Those are exceptional.
Great day.
That combination. Great day. Another guy, I got to watch his tape every day. I mean, there's 333 guys here. I've not watched 333 players yet. I will, and we'll get to about 400 usually each year. We got a lot of work to do when we get back home. Sam Brown Jr. from Miami. I've seen him.
Yeah.
Studying Cam Ward. Like, I know who he is. I know, like, but this guy only had 36 catches this past year. 509 yards, 14 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. They had a lot of weapons, spread it out a lot.
Yeah.
But he was like 5th in the team in receiving.
Yeah.
So when I saw his name on the list coming here, I was like, okay, because he's a part of our list and everything. I was like, okay, so clearly there's something there. They got it right. Mm-hmm. They got it right because listen to what he put up today. 6'2" and a quarter, 200 pounds. That's a big dude. He ran a 4.44 in the 40 and had a 41.5-inch vertical. So I get some tape to study on Sam Brown Jr.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
especially when you look at that 200 pounds. I mean, that's a bigger frame. A lot of these guys we're talking about are a little bit smaller than that. He's a guy that could play on the outside. I think he's a little inconsistent. I think you're going to see that. But if you're a receiver coach, you're looking at that and saying to yourself, man, I could work with that kid. The other guy I really want to highlight, too, is Colorado State's Torrey Horton.
Yes.
I thought he had a nice tape. Like, I loved his 2023 tape. He missed most of this past year with a knee injury. I loved his 2023 tape, 11.8 yards per catch. And I thought to myself, man, under 12, that competition,
Yeah.
maybe speeds is not the thing for him. Maybe whatever.
Yep.
Well, today at 196 pounds, 6 foot, he ran a 4.41. Speed's not the issue. This guy can run. And the other thing is the 37.5-inch vertical that's not surprising to me. This dude will go up and get the football. He makes some acrobatic catches on tape. I'm very excited about him because he was a player that I liked a lot. I didn't think there was a lot of buzz about him. I think he's going to move into that middle round range.
You know what's interesting? I watched Jalen Royals from Utah State and Torrey Horton from Colorado State back to back. Mm-hmm. And I get the explosiveness. Royals ran a 4.42. At pretty respectable size, 6 foot 205. He's well put together. I like some things on tape. I'm not going to go through his scouting report. I've got it right here. I thought Horton was a better like a more better all around player.
Yeah.
And that is not like shared with most people in the league. So maybe I just was having a bad day.
Yeah.
But it was good to see. It was good to see him work out well, because I think Horton is very much underrated in this class. Savion Williams, last little nugget. I got some hysterical notes from different people the last couple of days. Apparently, let's call it a big personality. He's got some funny lines in these meetings with NFL teams. He's a Wildcat quarterback, played quarterback in high school, plays running back, plays slot receiver, plays X, plays Z, returns kick. He does a little bit of everything. Never going to be a master of one, right? He's just like, he's never going to be the most refined route runner. He's never going to be able to dissect your zone and be great on read routes and all that stuff. But get the ball in this guy's hands, and he's an absolute freak. He was supposed to have like 4.3 speed, didn't have it. But still, at 6.037, 222. And the comp is Cordero Patterson. Everyone in the league is like, he's exactly what Cordero was coming out of Tennessee. A guy that, like, you just don't know what you're going to get. There's going to be some inconsistency. He's not refined in any way, shape, or form. He's a big personality, but my goodness, you get the ball in this guy's hands, something special is bound to happen pretty soon. And so Savion Williams, one of those guys, the teammate of Jack Besh, who was the Senior Bowl MVP, two great wide receivers on that team, but at almost 6'4", 222 pounds, he still runs a 4.48.
Yeah.
So
that's moving for that size.
I have had reliable conversations with people, and this was before the workout, and their caveat was, I want to see if the numbers are what I think. So maybe it'll change a little bit because it wasn't 4.3, it's high 4.4s, but it could be a day 2 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because of that.
I kind of like the Taysom Hill comp.
Okay.
He's got some Taysom Hill in him. Not quite as fast as Taysom Hill was coming out of BYU, but
What was Taysom? Was Taysom Hill?
he was a burner coming out of BYU.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was mid 4.4s. All right. Don't need to dive into that now. All right, last part.
Yeah. Get into it.
Most intriguing for most people, least important, the quarterback's throwing. As was the case with a lot of other positions so far. We've got the offensive line tomorrow, by the way.
It was 4-4. We're going to have 4-4.
We'll have our review show on Monday, as I mentioned. It was what?
4-4-4. So not quite as fast.
It's still blazing.
It's a pretty good
for a guy-
comp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a guy who's a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. We've got our review show coming up. Thank you very much for watching on YouTube right now, on Spotify. Wherever you get your podcasts, if you're listening, we appreciate you listening as well. Please subscribe and like and spread the word. Yeah, we're trying to grow this thing, and we appreciate all the support that we're getting. The quarterbacks, right? It's an interesting group. It's frustrating that the top 2 guys aren't throwing, but we've already had that conversation. I'm not here to revisit it. Like, you'd like to see him throw. Will it change where they get drafted? No. Does it make him a horrible human being? No. Does it make the guys who throw great human beings? No. We did have a great conversation with Tyler Shuck, who said he would throw. He had a great line. I said, why are you gonna throw when some of the other guys aren't throwing? He said, he goes, because I've learned over all my experiences, like, ultimately he's saying, part of the answer was he don't take anything for granted. Like, I thought this game was taken away from me. I didn't know if I was going to walk one.
Yeah.
And then he said, he's kind of adapted the mentality of, you got to compete to compete. I was like, I like that. And then he said, you got to play football to play football.
Right.
Basically, you better go out and show what you got every day to earn a right to even be able to go play the game that you love. I thought that was pretty awesome. Tyler Shuck competed. He's probably going viral right now. It was fucking hysterical.
The pumping up the crowd.
Yes, like, because you got to remember, there are 2 groups. There's group 1, like A through M or N in the alphabet, last names, goes in the middle portion of the workouts today after the running backs. And then the second group of receivers and quarterbacks goes at the end, and they finished up working out probably like 15 minutes ago now. And Shuck, there were only like 2 or 3 quarterbacks, right? And I'll look it up right now. 2 or 3 quarterbacks that actually
Cook ran.
There were 3 quarterbacks who ran. Brady Cook from Missouri, Seth Hennigan from Memphis, 2 guys that are Hennigan maybe goes late day 3, but probably not going to get drafted. And then there's Tyler Shuck, who could be the 3rd or 4th quarterback drafted this year. May wind up being the best of all these quarterbacks when it's all said and done. But he decided to run because you know what? You got to compete to compete. And he went out there and he called himself White Lightning.
I love that.
And by the way, you owe me a dinner. I don't care when Jackson Dart runs. I don't care if he runs.
It's never the bet.
No, the bet was my boy's faster than Jackson Dart.
That's what you turned the bet
And Jackson
into.
Dart's my boy too.
I said Dart was a better runner.
4.63 he ran.
It's a great number.
And he piped up the crowd the first time and he came back. He got the crowd even going more. But the reason it was funny is because he was the only quarterback in the group running
Right.
to the point where he finished his run, ran around, pumped up the crowd, and then had to was dapping everyone up. Then had to take a breather for 3 minutes before he went and ran the second one because there was
Yeah.
no one else to run. It was the funniest portion of the combine so far for me. That and watching Jackson Dart try to do a cartwheel because he couldn't do a flip. So 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in this class are acting the clown. But Shuck runs a 4.63. Remember I said to you, it's 1 year of tape.
Mm-hmm.
The tape's as good, if not better, than than the other 3 that we're talking about. Those other 3, in my opinion, from this year alone, the tape is as good or nearly as good as Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart. That's my opinion.
Yep.
Okay? He's bigger, significantly bigger than the other quarterbacks. 6'4", almost 6'5", 219 pounds, right? Hand span, ideal, 9 3/4. Mm-hmm. And you look at him, and I said to you, he's got just as strong as arm. Like maybe Cam is slightly, but I think his arm is in that same category as Cam Ward's, and it's better than Shedeur's.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
And I think Jackson's in that same neighborhood too. They're all like Cam, but his arm strength's up there or better. His tape's up there or better. He's bigger and he's faster when he takes off to run.
We have no time on Dart yet.
But he's faster. And so my point is, there's a lot to like with this cat.
There's a lot to like with him. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot to like with him.
I watched in spurts. I saw some inconsistent throws. I thought he was a little flat throwing on the deep ball, which I didn't see on tape. Everyone, did you notice that it was kind of the post corner they normally run? They flattened it out.
Bend, yeah.
People were out. All the quarterbacks seemed to miss closer to the sideline than the middle of the field. And I think even Kurt Warner brought it up, and it was very obvious. But my point was, even if the ball was on the right line, in the right accuracy portion of it, it still was kind of flatline. But that was one throw. I did think he threw the ball well, though. You could see the velocity. You could see him trying to hit spots. The receivers weren't always there. A couple times he was a little off target. I thought he did a really good job overall. But again,
I love it.
I did not watch the entire, every single throw. I will do that on the plane tomorrow, back to Boston, okay? And we can come back on Monday during our review show. Please tune in on Monday. We'll have that show out Monday, late afternoon, early evening for you, along with the McShay report that's coming out Monday morning that, I'm just going to put him on the line. I'm going to drop him on the table for this one.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Just when you get good stuff, you got to share good stuff, okay?
Yeah.
But I thought he had a really good day.
Okay.
Overall. Mm-hmm. Wasn't earth-shattering, nor even if he had the best day throwing the ball ever, it wouldn't change the evaluation. But I think he came out and showed that same ability that you see on tape. The other quarterbacks, what stood out to you? From the earlier session, especially with Jackson Dart. Again, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders not throwing. So I'm asking Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard.
Let's just start. We've got to start with Dart, potential quarterback 3. I thought he had a good day. I had some concerns about, not concerns, that's not what I would say. I didn't know how strong his arm was. I didn't know if he I'll put it this way. He put more zip and velocity on the ball today than I thought he would. And I thought that's another thing that's positive momentum for him. I thought he had a nice day. He got the ball out early. He was accurate. There was nothing wrong with his performance today. I think two other names that really are worth talking about are Quinn Ewers, who I thought had a nice day.
I did too.
There was a couple times in the deep ball where, again, I see it hang a little bit, and I'm just wondering if he's not getting out as quickly. The other name...
3 times. I saw 3.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Where it just hangs a little.
He's got this big arm everyone screams about. He can drive it as far as he wants to drive it. I never see it, though.
Right.
I see the 30-yard throw that can be on a line when he lets it rip, which is rare.
Right.
And it's not a negative necessarily. If he's layering it in, he does a beautiful job with that. He really does. His touch and ability to layer the ball in with finesse and throw catchable balls is arguably the strength of his game, okay?
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I just wonder, it's like that warning track power or something. I don't know.
Overall, I thought he helped himself. I thought that this was the first. This was the first chance for him after the season has ended to come out and kind of show what he could do. I hope he has a really good pro day performance because he's a talented player. And I thought today overall he helped himself. I thought Will Howard was a little uneven, and how much was that was not working with these receivers that he's throwing to and the timing and the rhythm that all thrown off. How much of it was that he was getting either booed or cheered, depending on who you were asking every time he touched the ball? I don't know. But for a guy who, when I watched Will Howard's playoff run, that tape is outstanding. Outstanding tape.
I talked to a couple people here who, and I'll get into it more in the report and some different stuff I'm trying to confirm in terms of other things, but
I thought if he's
really good tape.
Yeah.
Really good tape, and the tape was nothing like the tape at Kansas State and the tape at the end of the year. And it's stuff that we've talked about. But
right, I thought he was
people
inconsistent during the regular season.
Yes.
But that playoff run, man, is really impressive. And I thought with that kind of momentum, if he had come out today and just crushed this workout, that we'd be having a different conversation coming out of Indy. And it wasn't that it was terrible. I don't want to say that. I wouldn't characterize it like that at all. But it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, in my opinion.
I agree. I thought it was inconsistent. Off target on both of his in-cutting routes early on to the left side. Third one was on target. I thought he was snapping the ball off. Great placement on and good zip on the deep outs. The in-cutting stuff I thought he missed on for Will Howard.
Yeah.
There are some people in the league that absolutely love this guy.
He looks the part, man. 6'4", 236.
He's going to go a little bit
well.
earlier than people think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying he's going in the first round. But I think he's going to come off. He might come off the board before somebody else. Or I'm just getting information that there's. And I need to talk to more people. But my point is this: there are some people that really got his back in the league. It's going to be interesting to see with Will Howard.
What about Gabriel? What'd you think?
He's got an arm, man.
He does, right?
Yeah, ball's jumping off his hand, spins it really nicely. Love his compact delivery. We've said all these things. Saw it at the Senior Bowl. He certainly doesn't have the 122-mile-an-hour fastball that it was reported or something, but the ability to spin the ball is really impressive. And I thought he threw a really good deep ball.
Yeah. I didn't think he was as sharp with some of the intermediate stuff.
He wasn't.
And he wasn't at the Senior Bowl either, which was very surprising to me. But again, go back to the tape, and when you watch him at Oregon, he is very sharp at that stuff. So you wonder if, again, this is why quarterbacks don't throw, right? Because then we start saying things like this was off and that was off, whatever. I don't want to overly criticize these players for going out and competing.
I thought he had a good day. I think as a smaller quarterback to come out there with other guys who have big arms and to stand toe-to-toe with them, I think, if nothing else, it checks that box for him,
And if you're sharp on tape, that's what teams are always going to go back to.
Jalen Milroe is interesting too. A lot of stuff in terms of conversations I'm having, different concepts on how to develop him, how long it'll take to develop him. I thought he threw the ball again. Second group, we were on the air for a portion of it, so I want to go back. But of the throws I watched, I thought he was a lot better throwing the football today than he was at the Senior Bowl for whatever that is. The deep ball is beautiful as it comes,
You're his agent.
Uh-huh.
You advise him to run here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have too.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he's fast. I'm not saying that. I know he's fast. And you could say, devil's
But
advocate.
maybe he's not as fast as everyone wants him to be.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
Man, if he could have come out, if he
Because
comes out and runs a 4.3,
right, but what if he runs a 4.5?
that's a problem.
Because you're counting on him being special and different in that regard.
Right.
And you're counting on him to have like Lamar type
So is there now doubt in your head? Is there now doubt that this, because...
I don't know. Let's see if he runs at his pro day.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're talking about a quarterback, but if his game is going to be built on mobility early in his career and that allowing him time to develop, like a la Lamar,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd like to know.
If that's his elite trait, yeah, I'd like to
Did
know.
Lamar run? He did. What did he,
I don't think he did.
who else? Somebody else. I don't know. I got to go back.
I don't think Lamar ran.
I'm not your guy for 40 times in quarterbacks.
I
I'm just
know.
not. But
But Lamar's senior season was different, too.
yeah. Today was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was great.
Today was awesome.
Running backs getting our back.
Yes. That was top to bottom. I can remember some like defensive line groups, some linebackers. Like I can remember some cornerbacks. But I don't know top to bottom we've had a day like that with the running backs ever
No,
at the Combine.
I can't remember.
4.48 was the average 40 time for that group. And it was one after another. And the broad jumps and the vertical jumps, the measurables that matter, it was fascinating to watch. Because this is going to be, it's going to go down as one of the best running back classes ever.
Yeah, I remember McCaffrey put on a show.
Yes.
He had an awesome workout.
Yes.
But as a group, I don't remember a group like this.
Right. So this was special. This was fun. We appreciate you all being here. We got the chat going on. I didn't get to as many people as I wanted to. We got Brian Hayes just yelling fire. I love it. Or Haas. I'm sorry, Brian Haas. Yeah, so keep the questions coming in for next week. We're going to be back on Monday, as I mentioned. We're thrilled to like have 24, maybe 30 hours to kind of put all these numbers together, finish up the conversations with people in here in Indianapolis. We'll fly back tomorrow. The workouts for the offensive line will be tomorrow. No one wants us to listen. No one wants to listen or watch us talk about offensive linemen for an hour and 20 minutes after they're just running 40s and stuff.
It's not true. It's just not true.
So we're going to see you on Monday. We're going to do a review show with all of that. We've got a lot of stuff. We talk to people in the league and just want to share, give some perspective on where we are with a lot of different topics, starting with some quarterbacks at the top of the board. Let's put it out there right now. We're going to get to some really good information, okay? So join us on Monday. Check out the McShay Report. Just Google it. You can subscribe for free, $4 to get the pass-through through the draft season. Go ahead, start right now on the chat about McShay Report for $4.
You're looking for it. Don't look for it.
Like, come on. I was sympathetic early on, but like $4, I spend $4 water in a hotel room. No, all joking aside, I do appreciate it. I truly do, and I know it's a hassle, and I know no one likes it, and I don't like it when someone asks me for $4 because if nothing else, it's a pain in the ass to go do it. But please do it. Support it if you can. Appreciate you being here tonight, and we'll talk to you on Monday. Take care. Plus, present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.